Now I'm going to pose a question to my viewers today. Should Juneteenth have been made a federal holiday? Hi, I'm David Thompson. Now, a lot of people have talked to me about this. Many are against Juneteenth being a federal holiday, even though it really doesn't affect them. But why? I'm sure there's a lot of reasons, and I'm going to try to cover a few of them today. First of all, before I even go down any rabbit hole, I'm going to give you a definition of Juneteenth. A holiday celebrated on June 19th to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved people in the U.S. The holiday was first celebrated in Texas, where on that date in 1865, in the aftermath of the Civil War, enslaved people were declared free under the terms of the 1862 Emancipation Proclamation. Sounds pretty official to me, right? So why do so many people struggle with it now that it's a federal holiday? Now, I'm not sure where it's in the hearts of everybody, but I'm sure some of it's based in race. But we'll get to that. See, just hearing the word Juneteenth causes some people with conservative-leaning values and traditional values to cringe with disapproval. Many immediately dismiss this federal holiday as a manifestation of progressive values. Henceforth, we get into the political side of this. Now, many times we get into these arguments over a political viewpoint, which might be the case for this as well. But I have a little paragraph I found that will help explain some of that. At the core of this anti-Juneteenth celebration is a far-right political ideology that emphasizes the preservation of European culture and territory, often asserting that these are exclusively for people of European descent. It is rooted in an anti-universalist, anti-globalist, and anti-multicultural worldview, viewing ethnic, culture, and racial identities as fundamental to their survival. Wow. So basically, at the heart of this is keeping the world that we know based in white Anglo-Saxon culture, keeping that at the forefront of our society. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation with a holiday is going to put that in jeopardy. Once again, it's more racist. It's more white versus black. It's more us versus them. We see that in politics, in every aspect of our world today, in our country today. It's even entered into the Christian church today, us versus them. Once again, we can't give you a holiday because it's going to give you more power. It's going to give you something over on us. I don't think that's the way we should be looking at it, but in today's world, we're going to defend our culture. We're going to defend our social values no matter what, even if they're not being attacked. We're going to make sure no one gets near us. We're going to keep those things as far from us as we can. Let's not go down that road, but we have. Now, before I move forward, I want to let you know that we do have a sister channel here. It's called Nights Around the Fire. I have a link in the description box for that particular channel. There we discuss mysteries, legends, and myths. It's an exciting channel. We have 5 videos out now. We're making more. Please go over to that channel, take a look, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thank you. So this brings me to critical race theory. Now, I wasn't going to put this in this video because it really is related, but it's not. But it is in the same ballpark. Now, critical race theory is an academic concept that is more than 40 years old. The core idea is that race is a social construct and that racism is not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice, but also something embedded in legal systems and policies. Now, this has been a big deal, fought over by many conservatives. Right-wing people hate this. They hate it. And there's a reason they do, and we'll maybe get to that in a minute. But an example of how this has affected the system, a 1930 study showed that a good example is when government officials literally drew lines around deemed poor financial risks, often explicitly due to the racial composition of inhabitants. Banks subsequently refused to offer mortgages to black people in those areas, even if they could afford the mortgage. This will give you an example of how embedded race is within our legal system. Now, let's be honest, racism still exists in society and its institutions. This is what critical race theory teaches. This is why people want this to be taught, so people understand. See, without understanding, without knowledge, you're deemed to repeat your mistakes of the past. For example, Charlie Kirk is an anti-Juneteenth person. Now, who is Charlie Kirk? Well, if you don't know, he's a conservative political activist, author, and right-wing populist media personality. Now, Charlie went on all his media outlets and said that he doesn't believe Juneteenth should be a holiday. He said, I went to work. And he said this from his car as somebody drove him to work. Think about it. He wasn't riding himself to work. Somebody was driving him to work, and he made his little video that he doesn't believe Juneteenth should be a holiday. Well, it is, Charlie. Now, keep in mind, he's more of a right-wing, conservative, nationalist, Christian type guy. This is a guy who once believed that the separation of church and state was important and that evangelicals were crazy. He now changed his tune and believes that the separation of church and state is ridiculous, that the Christians should run the country. Run the country. What do I mean by run the country? That's the 7 Mountain Mandate. I've talked about this before. Christian nationalism's 7 Mountain Mandate. They want to take over politics, education, business, media, arts, entertainment, and government. Yikes. That's the 7 mountains in our society. Can you imagine Christians being your boss as a Christian boss with Christian values and morals? They're going to force upon you. Now, I'm not saying they're all bad, but not all of them are going to be actual Christian values and morals. They're going to be what they think you should do. I've seen this quite often. You have to believe what we believe or you're not getting in. We don't agree with what you think. You've got to agree with us. Can you imagine that within those 7 mountains of our society? Could you imagine that in education? We already see some of that. Politics, we already see it. Authoritarianism, fascism, we're there. Media and arts, you won't have any media. You won't have any arts. You'll just have propaganda. You'll have what's approved by these Christian nationalists. That's another story, and I'm going to do a video about that soon, really soon. Look out for that. So right-wing ideologues like Charlie Kirk are nothing more than snake oil salesmen, still trying to sell their audience on some swampland in Florida. Another con man, like Donald Trump. These people pretty much hatched from the same hatchery. And one thing that I believe is June 19th should have been a holiday years before it was declared a holiday. Remembering the Emancipation Proclamation Act is important. It isn't about left-wing politics. It's not about anything except showing respect for what happened, for freeing people from slavery. A pretty big deal. But you see so many people, and it's the same with critical race theory. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to explain it. It happened. It's back in our past. We don't do that today, but yet we do. There's still racism that runs rampant in our country. Favoritism, we see it every day. And it gets worse now with immigrants, with LGBTQ+. These people are now being demonized and pushed out onto the fringes of American society. So we must never forget where we came from. That's the key here. The key point, my friends, is that we must teach it. We must have a conversation. Let children understand and let them decide. Hopefully, we'll remember the mistakes we made in the past. Hopefully, we can correct them today because we're still making some of the same mistakes. We've got to set a course and let this be a fair nation under God, like we all claim it is, like we all claimed it was. Let's not let our fears and right-wing conspiracy theorists turn us away from our goal to have a free nation, a nation where everybody's created equally. Many people believe that black people and immigrants are going to take over the country. In fact, there is a thing called the Great Replacement Theory. Many people fear this. It's a right-wing conspiracy theory. I'm going to read a little bit for you. The Great Replacement Theory, in simple terms, states that welcoming immigration policies, particularly those impacting non-white immigrants, are part of a plot designed to undermine or replace the political power and culture of white people living in Western countries. Multiple iterations of the Great Replacement Theory have been and continue to be used by anti-immigration groups, white supremacists, and others. So what do we learn here? The fact is there are many, many people, mostly right-wing conservative types, looking for a way to keep blacks and whites separated, looking a way to keep brown people out of the country. Donald Trump brought in people from South Africa. They were white. Others who are in war-torn areas aren't allowed in anymore. Nobody brown is allowed in. Only white people. Because Donald Trump most definitely believes in this Great Replacement Theory. It is a widely known conspiracy theory propagated by white supremacists. This is something that's been known for many years. So where do we go from here? Well, I'm glad that Juneteenth exists. No matter what little Charlie Kirk says, a little man in a big world trying to make his statement, trying to prove that Republican and right-wing conservative values are the only values you need to get by in life. This is the problem. Hatred is the problem. That's why I'm so happy when someone tells me they're upset with Juneteenth and I can say, God bless Joe Biden and that Congress for bringing it forth. We needed a holiday that celebrates the liberation of so many people after such a horrible time. I'm thankful for it, and those of you that don't like it, that's okay too. God bless you. Listen, that's all the time I have. I'll see you next week, because this is a Friday, on the David Tomsic Show. Remember, we're the #1 place for news, information, analysis, and commentary. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We need you. Join our revolution. Thanks again.